Okay, if everyone could take their seats, we're going to get started here. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, August 19th. And if you'll all please stand and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I don't have anything to report out from closed session, and we didn't have any expulsion actions. So that brings us to the meeting procedures. You're all looking very eager. That's great because I wanted to let you know you're all on TV. And this is the regular meeting of the Board of Education for the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, where our primary focus is the education of students in the school district. During this meeting, members of the public will have the opportunity to share information and voice their ideas and concerns regarding the matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During the board's discussion of each item, there will be a time for you to have the opportunity to speak on that item. If the topic you want to address is not on the agenda, although not mandatory, we encourage you to find a tan speaker card out in the hallway and turn it in over here to Ms. Geyer. Can you raise your hand? There you go. And you'll be called to speak on that item. If you wish to address the topic that is on the agenda, we ask you to use a blue speaker card. Again, it's not mandatory to do so. I will call your names in no particular order, and you'll have 3 minutes unless otherwise noted. Our meetings are televised on cable channel 28, and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays 9 a.m. So if you don't like cartoons, you know, really something exciting to watch in the morning. So, Madam Superintendent, do we have changes to the agenda tonight?
Madam President, we do not have any changes to the agenda this evening.
Thank you. And that brings us to our favorite part, recognitions. Could you introduce them?
It's my pleasure. I'll actually introduce some folks who will then do the formal introductions. This is the most exciting part of our meeting, and it's our opportunity to recognize special staff members and members of the community or students who are even more exceptional than everybody else who is already pretty outstanding. So I'll ask Mr. Chris Van Schack, our Assistant Superintendent, to formally introduce some new members to our team.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowers. It is my honor to introduce 4 new members of our leadership team. I won't ask them to stand up quite yet, but soon I will. I'd like to start with Mrs. Donna Geyer. Mrs. Donna Geyer is the Administrative Assistant to the Superintendent. She was actually with us from 1996 for about 9 years. She served with 3 superintendents, so Mrs. Bowers is the 4th superintendent she's worked with in our district. She left us for a while to raise her children, and even though that never ends, I guess they're in a better spot. So we are thrilled to have her back with us, and again, she'll be the administrative assistant to Mrs. Bowers. Also with us, sitting in the front row, is Mr. Tom Fletcher. Tom Fletcher is a new vice principal at Livermore High School. Kind of a Livermore guy. He's been with our district since 1997. He's been a core teacher, a leadership teacher, social studies. He's been a basketball coach, activity director, and most recently at Granada High School, but he's also been at East Avenue and Livermore High. And so we are thrilled to bring Mr. Tom Fletcher to our team. We have 2 new principals in the district this year. Sitting in the front row there is Ms. Jill Bradford. Jill graduated from Villanova University, also attended the Berkeley School of Law. After a brief stint in the legal field, she came to her senses and joined us here in education. She's been a teacher, a counselor, a director of educational development. She's most recently been a principal in Oakland. She's been a principal for 6 years, and she will take over the helm at Maryland Avenue School. So we welcome Jill. And to Jill's right is Terry Quisenberry. Terry's a graduate of UCLA. She's been in education for a little over 25 years. She's been a teacher, an administrator. She's worked in Fremont, San Lorenzo, Pleasanton. She's been a principal for 6 years, most recently at Alisal in Pleasanton. We feel a little bit bad about stealing her over from Pleasanton, but not really too much. So we are thrilled to have Terry. She will be the principal at Sunset Elementary School. So I would like to introduce to you the 4 new members of our leadership team, Donna, Tom, Terry, and Jill.
Yep, please.
Come up and shake hands.
We need you to come around and shake everybody's hand, so.
Other way.
Right.
Clockwise, strictly clockwise.
This is the initiation ceremony.
Right.
We're excited to know. We're
Never
really
seen the
glad
Sac
you
State
came
alma mater.
along.
That's part of the hazing. Good luck.
Congratulations.
It's great to see you. We'll see you every
glad that
Tuesday
you
for the rest of your
came.
life. So your first couple weeks been okay? Been all right? Tough guy? Okay, good.
Before we go on with the next recognition, I should say something. We are short a couple of board members. As many of you know, we did lose Trustee Tom McLaughlin, and Chuck Rogie is unable to be with us tonight. So we're just a little bit short-handed, but we'll get through it.
For our next recognition, I will ask Mrs. Yolanda Holmes, our Executive Director of Human Resources, to join us at the podium, and she has a special guest. We are actually having an external organization recognize us today.
Good evening. Good evening, President Runyon, our board members, Superintendent Bowers. Tonight it gives me great honor to introduce Kimberly Dennis, which is the Chief Director of the Alameda County Insurance Group, who will be presenting the recognition to the Human Resources staff. Before I turn the mic over to Kimberly, what I would like for everyone to see is the thread of how this comes together with human resources, safety, workers' comp, and ultimately our relationship with the Alameda County Insurance Group. Every person in the Human Resources Department has a responsibility, and they take it not lightly, to ensure the safety of all staff, as well as our volunteers on our campuses. So from the time we receive a phone call through Danita, which is our benefits person, or a fax through Jenny, who sits at the reception desk, through the calls from our program directors, our secretaries at the site, through the time that the employee might be injured or on their way back to work, through certificated and classified in terms of processing any disability papers or letters or communications about what they may need, even into sending get well cards. Our staff in Human Resources takes that commitment to support all employees very seriously, and I think it's a result of that work that Alameda County Insurance Group decided to recognize such a wonderful staff. Kimberly?
You said almost everything I was going to say. Thanks, Yolanda. Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Kimberly Dennis. As Yolanda indicated, I'm the Executive Director of the Alameda County Schools Insurance Group. Before I proceed with this, I would like to thank you all for letting us have Susan Kinder as our board president. She leads us, and I acknowledge that that takes time away from you, and so we greatly appreciate that. This year, the Alameda County Schools Insurance Group has worked with all member agencies, and we support the workers' compensation program for all districts in Alameda County, with the exception of Hayward, Berkeley, and Oakland. They're all part of our Joint Powers Authority, which is a group that combines purchase power to get the best rates for your employees as well as the best services. This year we chose to recognize districts in 3 areas. The first area was those that embraced a safety culture within their organization. The second area of recognition was those who implemented a return to work program. And third, it was to recognize the district in which took advantage of all the training opportunities to support staff in an effort to mitigate all injuries. We have a service team of 5 people that support your district as well as other districts. And when we all met to talk about which district we wanted to recognize for each category, I'm happy to tell you that Livermore rose to the top on all 3 areas. Part of our recognition program is to encourage positive behavior, and while it would have been great to give you all 3, we felt like we should probably share the wealth. And so We chose 2 other districts for other pieces, but the area that we really wanted to recognize Livermore for is the embracement of the training opportunities that are available both in person and online. Your employees have access to trainings, over 150 different trainings depending upon their area of expertise. And Yolanda and her department have done a fantastic job of linking employees, both those that have been injured and those that have not been injured, to the areas that support their position. And by doing such, hopefully we have avoided injuries for your employees and therefore lowered the costs to your organization for your workers' compensation program. So tonight, I don't want to take any more of your time. We brought lunch last week for them. We decided if we brought food, they're more receptive to us. Sometimes people don't want to see the insurance people come around, and we get that. So we brought lunch for the entire department, and it was very nice to just sit down and get to talk to them on a social level. We don't really get to do that very much. But we also wanted to present the certificate before you and the community so that everyone can acknowledge the work that Yolanda and her department has done. So we also gave them a certificate with their lunch. And then I have some certificates that we would like to present on behalf of our district in cooperation with the board to the entire department and Yolanda. But first, Yolanda has something to say.
We can't do any of what we do without the support of departments. And so 2 of our departments have staff that, for whatever reason, they're in positions that require physical use and physical interactions with the equipment and machinery. And so campus catering and maintenance and operations have been great partners in ensuring that we can find modified work to get our employees back to work, and also partner with those employees when they return to ensure that they feel supported in the job. So I didn't feel without having to share this honor, I guess, right, but I'd like to ask Susan Kinder on behalf of Campus Catering and Mike Nagel on behalf of Maintenance and Operation to also join us in this recognition.
We've got a traveling mic, actually.
Okay. People at home will wonder what we're doing.
Right.
Okay, we will start with campus catering. Susan, this is for your department. Thank you so much. Mike, this is for maintenance and operations. Thank you so much. Next, we have Yolanda Holmes, Danielle Sands, Allison Noble, Jenny Arveo, Danita Cowgill, Jane Fulton, and Rebecca Polychronis. We have 2 members of the staff that aren't here, Vivian Sig and Kathy Dreisbach. So on behalf of us, we'll give this to Yolanda and let her have it. And again, thank you for your cooperation. We appreciate not only your departments, but we appreciate the time that you have given us to recognize your employees.
Wonderful.
I know, we always talk on the phone. There's a hand to a face. Oh, thank you. I know. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down. We appreciate it. Well done. Yeah, there you go. Nice job.
Every day.
Well done. We appreciate it. Thanks so much. Well done. Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for all your work. Good job, Mike. Now what we'd like is for all the people who've been recognized tonight come up front, and we're going to get a quick picture before we go on with the rest of the meeting. So can we have the last group first, and then we'll take the first group last? How about that? I'm a math major. Was that too hard for the the people who are already standing, come back. Yeah, Bill, just be on one end and then.
That's what it works. You can just stand in front.
find an opening there, Ann. There you go. All right, we're not getting any more beautiful. There you go.
That's all there is. Thanks, kiddo.
Yep. And when we're done with this, y'all need to go because I know you're working hard this week. No, that's fine. We find a space. You just group in, and then this way you know you can leave when we're done with pictures. Thanks, Mike. And really, everyone feel free to leave. We know you have a lot of work. All right, well, that is really wonderful. It's great to hear about all the wonderful things that are going on within our district. Normally, this would be the time for student board member reports, but it looks like they're getting ready for the new school year with other activities, so we'll get them next time. And Jenny, would you like to speak for the employee associations? Welcome.
August.
Indeed.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Bowers and staff. Summer has been a very interesting one for Livermore Education Association. I am the new president, and I am forever a first grade teacher, or my former students would call me the fabulous Mrs. Unger. The first thing that we dealt with this summer was moving. Our association had had space in the Livermore Financial Center for 40 years.
Wow.
Not always the same exact office, but it's really easy to walk across the courtyard to move your furniture. And this time we moved from the Sunset area all the way over to Las Positas Court, which is across from Uncle Credit Union. So we made a big move, and we moved like right at the end of school, second week of June, and by the end of July we actually had working air conditioning and landlines and internet. So it's finally a place where we feel that we can get some work done. In August we sent 6 members to CTA's Summer Institute, and we had folks in 5 different strands. We looked at bargaining, we had someone go to member benefits, someone learning about school finance, someone learning about legal things, and we had 2 folks going to the instruction and professional development, which was about Common Core standards and creating and using formative assessment along with the Smarter Balance test. We had our new teacher orientation yesterday, and we had 50 new teachers show up for that, and they all had their little eyes like deer in the headlights, you know, from all the information they received. So we tried to keep it simple. We gave them all t-shirts. We made sure they had little cards with their Weingarten rights on them just in case, and information to contact us. And we also talked to them about their member benefits and what they could have as members of our association. Today we pretty much finished up our bargaining, and I want to thank the team for LEA, which included Keith Pickering-Walters, who was our chair, Lisa Wilson, who will be our next bargaining chair, Renee Haugen, and we did have Peggy Harding through June, and then she retired. So we kind of finished up, and we also want to thank the district team who worked with us. That included Chris Van Schack, Susan Sambachetti, Laura Lembo, and Beth Cutter, and Yolanda Holmes. And we want to thank the board especially for being patient for the long process and really supporting the direction that the 2 teams wanted to go, because we both philosophically had the same kind of ideas on where we want our district to go in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And before we go on with the next item, it's kind of dim here and it's hard to see the faces. I don't know if we can get the lights up. But this is time for communications from the public. Communications from the public is time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on the agenda. The board may listen to the comment and ask staff clarifying questions, but they will neither discuss nor take action at this meeting on topics that are not on the agenda in accordance with the Brown Act. If you'd like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now is the time to do so. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, and each speaker may speak once. So do we have any comment card? Nobody? All right. And Dr. Dunlop, I think you have some correspondence.
Yes, we have 2 items of correspondence. And Alan Dickens sent a letter in support of Denise Watskin-Lum, the Adult Transition Program teacher. He expressed concern for her status within the district. And Melanie Bailey Bird wrote to the board regarding a personal matter relating to a complaint she filed concerning her position within the district.
Thank you, Dr. Dunlop. And that brings us to our first information discussion item. Madam Superintendent, would you like to introduce that?
Certainly, it's my pleasure. This is an information discussion item, and I will ask Mrs. Susan Kinder, our Chief Business Official, to do the honors of an introduction. I believe she'll be joined by Jan Shipley, who is our entire facilities department.
That is correct. So I would love to invite Miss Jan Shipley, our construction supervisor extraordinaire, who's been very busy this past summer doing some projects which she is very excited to share with you. So with no further ado, I will hand it over to Jan.
Thank you very much. Good evening, President Runyon, board members, Superintendent Bowers. Today I'm here to present on not only the summer 2014 project, but also winter of 2013. So let's start with the winter bid information. The contractor for this job was JD General. They were the low bidder. The architect was Rainforth Grau. And this is particularly important to me, is to recognize our internal support. Even though I'm a department of 1, I'm not alone. Maintenance, ISS, the site principals, and the district staff, from custodians to the ladies in the office, everybody helps out with our projects. So the winter scope was Mitchell K-8 school. We had to relocate and install a 36 by 40 classroom from Sonova Avenue to Mitchell K-8. We also had to complete associated ADA, American Disability Act site work. This building was at Sonoma. You can see it's not a pretty building. It was the science center for the charter school. What we did with this building is we worked on the outside. It needed paint. The railing it looked more like a stockyard railing. The skirting was deteriorating. On the left side of this building was a huge firewall, because the way that they positioned the buildings on the campus, it was smack next to another one, so they had to put in a firewall. So what we did is that we had to move this building. We moved it in 2 pieces, and we got it over to Mitchell. And this is what it looked like after we got it painted in the new ramp. So it's Mitchell colors, and the one thing that I liked about this is that we did put a new ramp and new skirting, and I had them paint the railing black, so it really popped. It was really nice to see that. And it's different from the other buildings on campus, because you can see this from the street, so it really stands out. What we did on the inside was, you can see it's set up as a typical science lab. We had to replace the floor tiles. We took all the gas turrets out except for the teachers, and then we installed, so she has a cutoff inside her cabinets. We put a new hot water heater, all new ceiling tiles, lenses, fixed all the lighting. This room has got a ton of storage, which, teachers just love. Here's the teacher's desk, and behind that is a teaching wall, the beloved teaching wall. Again, it's got a lot of storage, and on the other side of the building, on the other side of the room, under the window, there's also bookshelves and a lot of storage there. I put this slide in because, remember I just told you about the firewall? Well, we removed the firewall because we didn't need it, and lo and behold, there are these operable tinted windows. So what they did was you wouldn't have known that in the inside of the building because they had put tack wall on the inside. So when they pulled the firewall off, there were these beautiful windows, and all they needed was screens. So we went in and we cut the tack wall, and sure enough, there were the windows. So that was a really nice thing because, as you know, having good sunlight, having air to be able to come through the building is a positive thing. So this was kind of a really nice surprise for us to see this. Mitchell, like some of our sites, and Mr. Nagel can tell you, we had a little bit of a drainage problem. We had Lake Portola, now we had Lake Mitchell. So what we had to do, we did all the draining in there. So we fixed had to pour new concrete. We ripped up this area a little bit and put down new sod. So this whole area was resodded. So now there's no more lakes, there's no more puddling, and the site's really grateful for that. We also had to do ADA work, so we had to put in new handicap stalls and new path of travel to make sure that was all safe and sound. So everything was restriped. In the front of the school was also, there's a little drop-off area, and so that was all squared away there. So the summer bid process was a little differently. Normally, what we do is you have one project and one contractor. So if I'm doing 2 projects at 2 sites, we have different contractors for each one. This year, what we decided to do is one contractor for 2 sites. So that kind of allowed us to step up our game a little bit as far as contractors go. We got to get a little higher end contractor. And that contractor was DD Construction. And they were wonderful. They did a wonderful job for us. They were very efficient, very professional. They helped us remember what safety was. We were able to adopt a lot of their safety protocols that I hope that we are going to go forward in the future. We picked Rainforth Grau again as the architect because they did Junction and Mitchell before, so we didn't have to redo a lot of stuff. It was already, plans are already drawn. And then again, a lot of internal support, maintenance, ISS, site principals, and district staff. ISS, a lot of times we will put the infrastructure in, and then ISS comes in, Frank will come in, and they kind of do a lot of their work themselves. So they're really good about that. I never really have to worry about the data or low voltage side of the house. So the summer scope was to install 6 relocatable classrooms and 1 restroom building with associated site work at Junction and Mitchell. Mitchell, we had 1 traditional classroom, 24 by 40. We had 1 24 by 40, which was an art room. And then we had the Project Lead the Way classroom, which was a 36 by 40. And then Junction, we put in 3 traditional 24 by 40s. One thing I didn't put on here was the one we put in a restroom, boys, girls, and staff. These are leased portables through Mobile Modular. Mobile Modular moves their portables a little differently. Our usual contractors move them whole or in halves. Mobile Modular puts them in sections like this so that they can move them during the day. So this is the truck coming down the fire lane at Mitchell, and then they just back it in and drop it and set it on cribs and move it into place. This is the Project Lead the Way classroom. I know it looks grand. I think my phone camera was a little out of sorts, but the Project Lead the Way classroom, I didn't know very much about it. Being asked to put it in, I had to learn what this classroom was about. So I got Frank Marty and I went over to Christensen, who has a Project Lead the Way program, and we met with Regina Brinker, and we talked about data, we talked about how the kids use the room, we got to see the kids use the room. Among other questions, I asked her 3 questions. What do you like about your room? What don't you like about your room? And if you could have anything you wanted, what would you want? Pretty much her answers were she'd like to have security to be able to keep her laptops and tools safe, and the things that she needs for the Project Lead the Way, space for this kids to work and do their project, and for her to have like a typical classroom setting, and storage. So she wanted to be able to have storage for the laptops and the tools and all the things that she needs for that. So this is a typical Lead the Way classroom feature. So this is, we put in 10 workstations, and they include drawers, work surfaces, and then robot kit storage. We're also put in a tall cabinet for her laptops, which is lockable. All the drawers are lockable. And then a little cage there is for the robot kits, and that's also lockable. And then a nice surface for the kids to work. I think they have 4 to 5 kids per little section. We also made room for a drill press and a 3D printer. So we made sure that there was data and power to be able to run those. This is a robot kit. It's filled with all kinds of things. I would imagine it builds a robot. I'm sure that's what it's there for, but that was really important for her to be able to store that. That's what the little cages are for. One of the nice features I liked at Christensen is that Regina had these pegboards, and she was able to put the scissors and the rulers and all the things hanging on it, so the students were able to just replace it, or she was able to see what was missing or what needed to be put in that space. So I added 2 pegboards in the Project Lead the Way at Mitchell. At Mitchell, we also had to put in 2 volleyball courts and 2 basketball courts. Now, for those basketball folk, you're probably looking at this and asking, where's that 3-point line? That seemed to be a question. It was later added after this. So the 3-point line is absolutely there, and I called many coaches and asked, is it important to have a 3-point line? Mitchell didn't have that at the existing, so they said absolutely. That was the first thing out of their mouth was absolutely. This is kind of the vision. So you see that building K, that's the science classroom. We had a couple renditions of how we were going to situate the 2 24x40s and the 36x40. We were going to have them stacked right next to each other, or we had them go up against the fence and the houses there. That square between building K and the 24x40s is a garden. That's not there yet. It's a proposed garden. So what this all does, and when we decided on how we should place all this, we went out to maintenance, we went out to Susan, went to Mr. Vanchek, we asked around, we asked the principals, we got a lot of feedback and buy-in on this. But what this did, it kind of created a little quad, and that's actually what Laura Limbo calls it, the middle school quad. So everything is like right there. It's kind of a science-y kind of quad. So basically, we had some thought behind this. Junction, K-8 classrooms and restrooms. Now, if you'll remember last year, we already did a lot of ADA work. So this year for Junction, we just had to drop the portables. We put in 3 portables. These are mobile modular portables. We put in the 3 portables and with associated ramps. We had very little site work, but we had a little bit. They came with new carpets, new blinds, new ceiling tiles. Mobile Modular really stepped it up. We've gotten a few portables from them that really weren't up to par, but these, they really went out of their ways and gave us really nice classrooms. This is the restroom. I love this building. I like the colors, the signage. We've got the girls, the staff, and the boys. This is a leased Mobile Modular class or restroom, but it's an Enviroplex building. And what they're doing now, and I don't know why they didn't think of this earlier, they're putting little windows in. So if you remember the Granada restroom, it doesn't have any windows or anything. So this turned out to be a really nice building. Again, Mobile Modular stepped it up, made sure that they had all new flooring, new ceiling tiles, new everything. And this is the associated site work. So if you'll see the little bed in front of the existing, the portables I put in last year, you see it's a kind of a built-up bed. Glenn Sherman and his team did that for us after we pulled out and left. Then we came back and we put in black bark. And black bark is one of my favorites. It's actually the new tan bark. It really, again, makes things pop. It kind of, I don't think it's going to stay like that. I'm sure the kids will walk through it and it won't stay, but it's a really nice look, and it looks nice and clean, and that's really what the site wanted. We were thinking about putting in plants and such, but basically they just wanted bark. We did a little bit of asphalt work so that we didn't have any mud or anything like that. So the it's really nice and clean back there and safe for the kids. Then purchasing worked very closely with the principals to be able to get furniture, modular furniture that would be able to fill these rooms. And as you know, the classroom is changing. It's not your everyday classroom. This modular furniture allows collaboration. It allows kids to cool off and have a little, study session in the corner. So this furniture, this is a rendition of what purchasing told me they ordered, and that will be installed this week. And that concludes the facilities summer, winter project overviews. Thank you.
Great. Did any board member have a question, comment? Dr. Dunlop?
As always, very nice job.
Oh, thank you very much.
And it's always good that it's done before school starts.
Yes, yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you. I would have liked to have it go a little longer, but Mr. Van Check, he's been really beneficial. He's helped us out. He kind of gave me a deadline and said, I'd like you to have this done by the 12th. So August 12th was our last day. We got it all cleaned up. We had a little bit of outlets we had to do and a ceiling tile here and there. But again, Dee Construction really made this happen. And he asked me today if it was done, and he was surprised when I said yes. And yeah. So we're all done.
Next time he'll give you less time.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't. I should.
No, it's been really nice. It's very important, the work that you do, and it's been really gratifying. This week I've had a chance to drop in on a couple of the schools and talk to the principals, make sure they had everything they needed. And to a school, they all said yes, that everything was in great shape. So well done, and thanks for everybody that's been a part of that, because our employees can't do their job if we don't give them the proper tools. So
Thank
great.
you very much.
And I just want to add that Jan has done a fabulous job. She is a bulldog. So the reason that it got done on time is she does not let anybody slide at all. She makes sure that they are on task. And it's really important, because if you give a contractor a little bit of leeway, they will take it. And so she makes sure that they are on the ball. And so Jan gets some...
Well, maybe you and I can go over and visit the Project Lead the Way classroom, and you get to see all the stuff in action. I think you'd enjoy it.
I'm sure I would. I'm very interested in it now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's awesome program.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that brings us to the next item. Would you like to introduce it?
Certainly. Thank you, Madam President. So next we have an information discussion item, and we'll have our Executive Director of Maintenance and Operations, Mr. Mike Nagel, to present. Oftentimes when people think of school districts, they think in the summertime everybody's taking a break or on vacation. Well, I can tell you it's the complete opposite for both facilities and maintenance folks. That is the time when folks have vacated the schools, and so they have an incredible amount of accelerated pressure to make things happen and get ready for the new year. So, Mr. Nagel?
Well, thank you, Superintendent Bowers, President Runyon, members of the board, members of the community. Yes, we have about 5 days left, and we are, our crews have been working since the day school let out this past year, and we will be working right up until the very end. But before we go, I truly want to acknowledge the maintenance staff, the grounds folks, our custodians, who have just been working the entire summer and giving it all, getting the schools ready. This is our time to do our restoration and our repairs and some of the projects that we just can't get done in the school year. And it is great to work with Jan and the contractors and be able to support them as well. And the buildings that they put in this year were just fantastic, and we will be taking those on in our new school year for maintenance and repair. So just to start off with just an overview of what we do. We do all our major repair that pertains to all the major categories: electrical, plumbing, and paving. We do our landscape and field maintenance. We do all our inspections of fire extinguishers and fire systems and playground equipment, and restoration of our gym floors and all other hardwood surfaces and carpeting. And again, we do assist other departments throughout the summer, like we have with the facility department person. We also, again, do our extensive cleaning. This is our top to bottom cleaning, as we refer to it. This is where we can get in and shampoo the carpets and do all the cleaning of all the desks and the chairs and just all the walls and doors, and just the real deep down cleaning that needs to take place in the off season. And what we clean, again, the 17 sites, over 1.5 million square feet of space, and 800 classrooms, 300 restrooms, thousands of desks, and carpeting and hardwood surfaces. And the reason we clean, we have to maintain a healthy and safe environment for our kids, and our students and our staff. We follow the Williams Settlement and SB 6 and SB 550. It's important to have the appearance of our campuses look well, and we know it impacts students and staff in our community. And then again, preventative maintenance and the chance to get in there and do the work on our assets and the equipment adds life to our equipment and saves us money, and we can spend our money elsewhere. So some of the major projects that we did this summer focused on HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems at Christensen and Mendenhall and Ranchos Las Positas. We did about 285,000 square feet of seal coating and striping and painting at several school sites, and I will have some photos here to share with you in a minute. We continued to add hydration stations at our schools. We added additional units at Livermore High and Granada, currently at Croce, and in September we'll be working at Christensen. We're doing lighting upgrades at both Junction and Rancho, and we did some painting and some construction projects at Del Val, the district office here, Granada, Livermore, and Mendenhall and Rancho. We continue to work on our security upgrades. We added 450 feet of fencing in the backside of Sunset Elementary School for the play area and the lawn area. And then we did some carpeting and floor repairs at a number of our schools, and roofing repairs. And then we finished up a grant that we received last year to add surveillance cameras to our K-8 and middle schools, and we completed that this summer, actually completed right at the beginning of the summer. And so we have all of middle schools, and our K-8s have surveillance cameras now. Our big security upgrade on rekeying was at Junction K-8. We rekeyed that school to the new Grand Master, and we did some rekeying in the Granada Gymnasium. We finished over 60,000 feet of gymnasium floors. And then, again, this is our chance to repair ball walls, and we do our safety training, and we have some community partnerships that we work with, and I'll share that with you in just a moment here. And then we continue our efforts in conservation. Prop 39, the California Clean Energy Jobs Act that was passed by the voters in 2012. We are working on projects that are being funded out of that, and primarily in lighting and HVAC upgrades. and we'll share some of those projects with you. We, with the California drought, we continue to monitor, adjust schedules, and do things that we can do to our landscape to reduce the water usage that we throughout the district. We continue to participate in PG&E's peak day pricing, where we have a number of sites that get special pricing throughout the year, beginning May 1st to October 31st. And then on certain high demand days, there's a higher price, and then we can save money by cutting back on those areas. We have been retiring a number of old, outdated refrigerators throughout the district. We continue to do that. David Darlington, our conservation consultant, heads that up. And then we have had an appliance unplugging program, the second year now, and I'm happy to report that most of the sites had a high number of appliances that they would unplug for the summer, and the congratulations to Maryland Avenue and Rancho. 92.8 and 92.4% of all their appliances, not computers, but all their appliances, which would be refrigerators, chargers, televisions, anything like that, were unplugged over the summer, and followed by Del Val Continuation High School. So congratulations to those 3 schools. So some photos I'd like to share with you that I'll go through rather quickly. Our large HVAC projects this summer was Rancho Las Positas. We're in the final stages of finishing that up. These are a 10-ton and a 7-ton unit that on the multipurpose room and the library, and we are in the middle of that project. That'll be done here on Thursday. We have been working over at Christensen Middle School on a project to decommission a chiller system for the past 4 years, and we are just about done. It's a very, very old system. It's basically an all-or-none heating and cooling system. If it goes down, everybody goes down, and sometimes you see some real not so good news in the news when some schools, it's very common to have that type of heating and cooling system in many K-8, K-12 schools. We are retiring that system, and we are just about done. One of the exciting projects that's tied into Prop 39 is our lighting retrofits. This is Junction Room 10. This is our first classroom that is, we installed LED lighting. And the neat thing about this classroom is that it has its own meter. So we essentially, this was our lab, so we did a meter reading because we get real-time data from PG&E that we can measure the usage of the T8 lighting, and then we replaced it with the LED lighting, and we measured that. It's about a 40% savings, and we have told our electricians that they will never replace this light bulb in their career. I mean, these are supposed to last something like 100,000 hours. We'll see if that's true or not, but it's still a fantastic return on investment, and so that's something that will be taking place throughout our efforts with Prop 39. This is a great time of year where we seal and stripe parking lots. This is Granada main parking lot and the student parking lot. This is Altamont Creek, where we seal coated and striped their main staff parking lot. And we also did East Avenue Playground, and we also assisted Jan Shipley with the Mitchell Playground on the seal coating. And then we did Mendenhall Middle School, and this preserves the asphalt and just gives added life to it. So. And then this is our time of year where we do all the hard floor restorations and all our tile work. This is an area that the custodians really love to put a lot of time and effort in, because it's just a wonderful look and just a great way to redo the floors. And these are a number of our schools that we do that with. We have been working on changing out some old type of flooring, like vinyl flooring, with an epoxy type flooring called Terralite. This is part of our district standard, so when we build a new building and a new restroom, this is the type of flooring. The custodians love it. It's easy, clean, it's very durable, and it has a lot of life. And we did that at Maryland and Arroyo Seco this year. We not too many classrooms that have carpet needs but we still change out carpet in several. We had a couple classrooms in Livermore High, and we have been doing that. And then again, all our gymnasiums we refinish. This is Granada High School, and we do all the gymnasium floors in-house by our maintenance staff. On our efforts to improve our security, these are the cameras that we installed at the middle schools this summer. And then the rekeying of the junction K8 to our new Grandmaster. These are shots of the fencing that's at the Sunset School in the backside of the school. This was a need to secure the area where the kids play, and also this was an area that we fenced off, but also preserved a lot of the park area too for the neighborhood, surrounding neighborhood. And then we continue to do window film, mini blinds on our windows as needed. We completed our card access at the gymnasiums at Granada, small and large gym this summer. We were able to do some small construction projects. We converted a computer lab at Granada to a conventional classroom here. We did some construction work on some portables out at Livermore High School. Some bench renovations in the locker rooms, and some door work throughout the district. This is Del Val, but we do a number of our door replacements, frame replacements throughout the district, and this is our chance to do some extensive touch-up painting throughout with railing and curbs, and just touch-up work on exteriors. And again, the hydration stations, that has been is an ongoing program to have a unit at every one of our schools, and the goal is to try to get that done this year. And this is filtered water, chilled. We have it at a number of schools right now. And again, our chance to do our lighting upgrades and changes. This is the time we have to, by law, we have to have all our fire extinguishers serviced and charged and looked at. And then again, this is our time for our grounds department to catch up on landscaping and just all our irrigation needs. And playgrounds, we bring in Fibar, or what some people call it Tanbark, and we restock the play areas, and so they're ready to go on the first day of school. And then again, custodial teams, and I really want to really acknowledge the custodial teams this year. We have 4 teams: high school team, a middle school team, and 2 elementary school teams. And 3 of the teams were ahead of schedule all summer long, which was really phenomenal. This is their 12th or 13th year that they're working together, where we bring them all together. It allows them to always have a number of people working with them. It allows them to go on vacation. They have to spend time with their families as well. They can't typically take vacation in the school year, and so this is a way to bring our resources together, create some real teamwork, and give them time off as well. And so our high school team was about a week ahead of schedule. Our middle school team was about 2 to 3 days ahead of schedule. And here are some of the folks that are a part of those teams. Did a great job. Want to again thank them for all their hard work, and we also had a little extra time to do some signage. And I don't know if you noticed our little boardroom sign, but that helps our visitors come into the building. And if you haven't noticed it, it's on the corner there. And as Mrs. Holmes and talked about earlier about safety, we take our safety and our training very, very seriously. We start off the summer right after school is out. We start off the summer with our safety training, mandatory safety training for all our maintenance, grounds, custodial staff. We have the support of Keenan that comes out and does several of the workshops. We invited Officer Creel from California Highway Patrol. He comes out and does a driving safety course for our staff. He's done this for us several times, and the folks we enjoy him. We also did our maintenance operations. We did CPR and first aid, as well as our AED training. Our entire staff did that this year, and that was right at the beginning of the summer. And then finally, I'd like to acknowledge the partnerships and the volunteers that really support the Livermore School District. And we had a number of churches, a number of other agencies, scouts that come out and help us. This is a group from Cornerstone Church that came out and painted several rooms at Del Val for us this summer. This is their second summer, actually, that they've come out and helped us out. The Church of Latter-day Saints brought a group of their missionaries out to help us with the Phi Bar at Croce Elementary. This is hard work. It really is, and they came out and just took care of it in an afternoon for us. It was very much appreciated to help support our Phi Bar needs. This is a group from Trinity Baptist Church. Did the same thing over at Maryland Elementary School. And then I want to recognize a young man named Tristan Knuth, who's a Eagle Scout. This was his project, and I wish I had the patent on this. This is a backpack cart. I don't know if you've seen this, but this actually started over at Jackson Avenue School, and it's kind of caught on. And this young man, for his Eagle Scout projects, this is Tristan Knuth, built several for two schools, Jackson and Sunset. And the idea is that it's a cart on wheels, and the kids put their backpacks on it. They have it outside the classroom, and at the end of the day we can roll it back in. So we're not hanging, having hooks on the side of the walls. We do that a lot, but this was a kind of a portable way to doing it. Sometimes there's space limitations, and this provided a need, and it works out great. And it was a wonderful addition to that. We work very closely with the Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department. They come out and do inspections throughout the year, but especially in the summer. And we also have developed a close relationship with the Department of Pesticide Regulation. These are the folks that work with school districts and all the different agencies on pesticides and chemicals and the training that we go to every year. They came out to Livermore High School and filmed a training film for maintenance staffs throughout for schools. And so they came out, and these are the two representatives, and they brought a whole staff, and we're going to benefit by getting the materials when they're done. So that was real nice. And then this past week, I just want to recognize our great partnership and relationship with the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory. We get many donations from this organization. This was two of our shop teachers, Ed Woodworth and Dan Danier. We came out to Lawrence Lab last week. They decommissioned an auto shop. They are no longer doing auto work at the Lawrence Lab, and so they had equipment and supplies, and these two gentlemen were like two kids in a candy shop and picking out things. And so they'll create a manifest of the items that we will be receiving as a donation. So we want to thank our partners and supporters from the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory. That is the end of my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
One question, with all the water conservation stuff we're trying to do, are we seeing any permanent damage to the lawns, plants, and so on around our facilities?
Not permanent damage. I mean, brown is the new green, and you do see several areas, some of the fields that are brownish. We are trying to put down enough water to maintain a safe play field for our students. We're watching it very closely. If we think it's getting a little too brown, we'll add a little bit more water. The climate has been fairly cool in the last several weeks, so that's helpful. That's helped.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much. As I said earlier, I've been able to drop in on a couple of principals, and some of them are from new hires from other districts, and you can tell that we do a really good job when you hear the enthusiasm in their voice when they talk about this is an amazing school and it's so well kept. So kudos to you and your team. We really appreciate all the work that you do. Sounds like it was an enormous amount of work, and you had a lot of volunteer help.
Yeah,
So we want to thank them too. I think maybe we'll see some of them maybe later for
I think so.
recognitions, because that sounded like an awful lot of help. And
We had some nice help this summer. Yeah,
That's
last
wonderful.
couple summers actually.
great.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much
Thank
for
you.
telling us about it.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we're on to budget.
We are, and so this is an informational item because it's the normal 45-day budget revision, and so I will ask Mrs. Susan Kinder, our Chief Business Official, to do the honors of presenting the revised budget for 2014-15.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers. So tonight we bring the 45-day revise, which was actually due on August 4th because it's due within 45 days of the state adopting their budget. So we didn't need to have a approval, but we did need to post it on our website for public view. So from the May revise to the 45-day revise, there were no major changes in the budget. There was still that horrible STRS expense that we had to keep in our budget. The biggest change was that the governor did allow some payment towards the mandated costs. That's his progress towards paying down the state's wall of debt. So in exchange for that, there will still be some more deferrals. Very few, but there are still some deferrals. And I guess what they're looking for is if revenues come in higher than expected, then the deferrals may get paid down earlier during this year. Unfortunately, funding for California schools is still on the bottom of the nation. So there is still work to be done. This is in your board packet, and obviously it's hard to read here, but it's just the changes between the adopted and the 45-day revise, which I will just talk about the changes that impact the bottom line. So revenues increased a little over $1 million, and $396,000 was a recalculation of the local control funding formula. There were some changes in the percentages that they were funding for the gap, so that was a positive. And then, as I stated before, the mandated cost revenue, we're projecting to get $785,000 from that. Now, mind you, the state still owes us a little over $12 million on our mandated cost claims, but we'll take the 785 for now. And then local revenue, we had to do an adjustment of about 86,000 to the negative because we had some revenue that should have been taken out. It was one-time revenue that should not have been in our adopted budget. On the expenditure side, we needed to increase our expenses for some additional staffing based on projected enrollment at certain school sites, such as IB program. And our special ed expenses, as we were closing the books, we found that there were some areas where we were a little short, and so we needed to increase our, we had higher expenses than expected in 13-14, so we needed to increase our 14-15 budget as well. And that's the same with our substitute costs, came in a little bit higher, so we needed to adjust our budget for the 14-15 year. And then adjustment to indirect costs, our indirect cost rate is a little bit lower this year, and we're getting fewer categorical grants, so we have less indirect costs that we're charging to them, which is an expense to the general fund side. And so that's a total of $767,983 in expenditures. So the net change in the fund balance was actually a positive $327,130. So next steps, we will continue to monitor our budget as we always do. Because the 45-day revise was so early, we still don't know exactly what our enrollment is because we won't know until we actually see the shiny little faces in our classroom. And then we'll update based on actual staffing at that time. And we will have to include any competitive compensation if and when negotiations are settled, because they are They did some hard work. And then at our next board meeting, we'll have our unaudited actuals. So then you'll know what your beginning fund balance is also. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
One minor question. When we were struggling through the past few years, it was always a question of cash flow, but I know they are paying stuff back. Do we still have any challenges in terms of the cash flow issues for the coming year?
So fortunately, you know, when we were doing cash flow projections at second interim, we had projected that we may need to do interfund borrowing at the end of the year.
Right.
But actually, our cash was about 1.9 million at the end of June, so without having to do any interfund borrowing, and that helped because they did pay back some of the deferrals. So I haven't done a cash flow projection, a new one for this year, but I don't think I think our cash flow issues are not as extreme as they used to be.
So at least
Yeah, we still
that
do.
is good, huh?
What's that?
Okay, at least that's an improvement,
is an
substantial
improvement.
improvement from 2 years ago on that. So the funding comes when we need it, and that looks rosy.
Well, I don't know that it necessarily comes when we need it, but it does come at some point. It's still, you know, the way that our funding works with the taxes, so taxes are probably 50% of our LCFF, and it comes in December and April. So it gets a little bit tight as we get up there, but once we get to those points, you know, as long as we can plan for it, we're fine. And so we do still have a resolution for interfund borrowing if necessary, because we want to be able to have that flexibility.
Okay, good, thank you. And we're always pleased to have a more rosy budget picture than we became accustomed to it always being a disaster. So that's pleased to see that things are at least stabilized. Thank you.
A comment. We got word late this afternoon from Assemblywoman Buchanan's office that there will be no school facilities bond on the November ballot, that they've chosen to emphasize the water bond. So it means we will be on our own going forward. So it's not really a general fund issue, but it's certainly a money issue, and people should be aware. And I've been neglecting to ask if any member of the public wanted to comment on any of these items. You're certainly welcome to, but okay. If no one wants to, then we're going to move on to action items. Madam Superintendent, would you introduce that?
Certainly. So I'll ask that our Director of Student Services, Mr. Scott Vernoy, join us. This is a continuation of items that came before you toward the end of last year, and it's regarding 2 board policies that will be presented for approval.
Good evening, Madam President, members of our board, Superintendent Bowers. Before I get started, if I could just take a second to do a quick advertisement. This Saturday, August 23rd, from 10 to 4 p.m. is the Carnaval de Salud, which is a Tri-Valley Health Fair. It's the first, hopefully, annual. It's a collaborative effort between the cities and school districts of Pleasanton, Dublin, and Livermore, as well as Alameda County. And we're hoping that all of our families can come. There will be free health, dental, and vision screenings, food and entertainment, as well as children's activities and health information for all. So if you do come, there is also free bus rides throughout, provided by Wheels, if you tell them that you're going to the health fair, or if not, you can pick up a flyer at any one of our schools.
And did you say where it's going to be?
Thank you very much. It is at the Community Center, the Livermore Community Center, Robert Livermore Community Center.
Great. And could you tell us the hours one more time?
The hours are from 10 to 4 p.m.
Great. Thank you so
So come
much.
early, stay late. Okay. Now on to, I think this is our favorite part of the board meeting, is policies. I have a couple of policies to bring forward today for second readings. Our board policy from Series 0 and board policy administrative regulations from Series 6000. This is a timeline that we have followed. First posting in June 12th, first reading June 24th, and our second posting was July 22nd, with hopefully the second and final reading tonight. The first policy I bring before you is policy 0410. It's our non-discrimination in district programs and activities policy, and the current changes are mandated changes to update and reflect new law AB 1266 and AB 566. The significant changes, it is a complete replacement, but the significant changes to this policy requires district programs and activities to ensure the removal of any barrier that may unlawfully prevent an individual or group in any of the protected categories from accessing district programs and activities, including the use of facilities, and also prohibits employers from discriminating against employees and job applicants based on their military or veteran status. Do you have any questions about that policy? It's pretty clear cut, and changes are made due to the law. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
What if it talks about prohibiting discrimination against veterans, but does it propose an advantage to be given to veterans?
No advantage given.
Okay. Maybe no advantage to anybody then.
Yes. That I remember reading. Yeah. No. The second policy that I bring before you tonight is Board Policy and Administrative Regulations 6154, our favorite homework and makeup work policy. The revisions of the existing board policies are being made and updated to reflect recommendations made to the Board of Education by the Homework Task Force. And the Homework Task Force, as you well know, met for a good 5 months last year in the 2013-14 school year and presented their findings to the board. Some of the significant changes realigns our suggested times for homework, where in the past policy it really talked about 4 days a week. The homework policy would define it as Monday through Thursday, if at all possible, and so you can see the times that are allowed during that time. We also decided or understand that reading is an integral part of education and learning, and the suggested reading times for families and students are also listed, and they are in addition to the homework times. A couple other significant changes: the assignments of homeworks over the weekends and holidays and vacation is discouraged, and that's where we were sort of going with the Monday through Thursday. Students are encouraged to use this time for review, reading projects, and completion of other makeup work. If homework is deemed necessary, the amount of homework assigned should not exceed the grade level suggested minutes for that one day. And then students in specialized courses, advanced placement, international baccalaureate, and honors can expect homework that is different than regular classes and may require additional study time due to advanced curriculum. And that was, we added different than regular classes. That was the adjustment that we made to this policy from the first reading, as well as changing a which to a that, a grammatical change as well. So at this time, is there any questions about our homework policy? For comment?
This comment's, in reading it, I read it fairly carefully, and I have nothing to report to you this time.
That's always nice. Thank you.
So I think a lot of good work was done on the homework policy. It still, is, the interpretation still could lead to a lot of homework, but I'm hoping the teachers will try to keep that within bounds, and we'll find out how it works. But it sounds a lot better than where we were before, when parents were complaining about how much homework was there.
And I think it can't be repeated too many times that there are these other classes that you can choose to belong to. And I'm going to say AP is supposed to be equivalent to a college course. And eventually when we have IB at the high school, that's supposed to be equivalent to a college course. And the standard on a college course is for every hour you're in the classroom, you have 2 hours of independent work and study. And therefore, if you are taking 5 classes, 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, then you will be working 60 hours a week on school. So if you choose to do that, you need to understand what you're getting yourself into. So choose wisely. I think we get complaints every year from people that choose to sign up for 5 AP classes at a time and then are shocked at the amount of work. And I think it's been important work that what we really want is for people to understand what they're getting into when they choose classes. That it shouldn't be a surprise when you have a very high level of work expected. If you sign up for something like that, and maybe a more reasonable thing would be to take no more than 3 at a time. So anyway, I'm hoping that this will address a lot of the concerns that we've had from the community, and I see some folks out in the audience. I didn't know if you wanted to speak maybe on this issue. No? Okay. Well, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I would just like
you had a comment.
to comment on Mrs. Runyon's comment. In my experience in college, what you did out of class was reading. It was not projects. And even AP classes in high school have time-consuming projects. So, you know, in college you wrote essays and you read. And I think the picture has changed these days. For AP classes in high school, they don't just read and do essays.
Well, I can comment on that. I was in a different field, and we did problem sets.
Yeah,
had a lot of them and difficult.
So your point is well taken. It's different work from the regular classes, but it's unpredictable. Yeah, I don't think we can make gross generalizations. Talk to somebody that took the class last year and find out what it was like.
Okay, so this is a action item, so if there are no more comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the second final reading of the proposed replacement board policy from Series 0 and a proposed revision board policy administrative regulation from Series 6000.
Would you like to second that?
Second.
Thank you. And with that, Mrs. White, could you call the roll for us? I didn't think of...
Dr. Dunlop?
Aye.
Mrs. Runyon?
Aye.
Mrs. White? Aye.
And so that passes unanimously. Thank you for that. And that brings us to consent items. Did a board member want to pull anything for discussion?
I just wanted to comment on the raft of new teachers that we're going to have next year. You know, I was at 50 or 60. I don't remember the number, but the list went on and on and on. And they all were at orientation, like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
And did you maybe want to address the LCAP, the local reserve cap? Oh, well, okay. Sorry. All right. So I'll entertain a motion on the consent motions.
I move that we approve consent items 9A through
M.
M.
Thank you. Great.
I will second that.
Would you like to call the roll, Mrs. White?
Dr. Dunlop?
Aye.
Mrs. Runyon?
Aye.
Mrs. White? Aye.
Thank you for that. And that brings us to resolutions. And I thought you might want to comment on the resolution.
Is this the new number for the recently introduced
Cap on local reserves?
Cap on local reserves. This is a bill which would undo the provision that was added at the last minute for when the budget was proposed and approved. There is some concern that the last minute aspect of it wasn't keeping with the spirit of transparency in the legislature. But this bill itself was produced, put on the floor almost at the last minute. So it would seem to me, if it's sauce for the goose to put it in the budget, it's sauce for the gander to consider it a little late in the process during the August session. But it does remove the cap from the necessity for school districts to have only a 2-year cap, a 2-year bit of reserves in their budgets. Local control, so we could have as much as district thinks is important.
Yeah, I think the important thing for the public to understand is the legislature did come in and put a cap on, saying you can have no more than 2 times your statutory reserve in your ending fund balances, and that really goes against the local control. And a bill has been introduced, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the new bill number or the Assemblywoman's name.
Assembly Bill 146. It's Assemblymember Christian Olson, Modesto, and Senator Jean Fuller Bakers.
And that came after we had to have our Brown Act notification of the agenda for tonight, but we do have a resolution on that we're considering, saying it's not a good idea to tie the hands of local districts with a cap on their finances. So anyway, I just thought it was important to note that, and I know that we got the particular resolution from CSBA and appreciate their work on that. And if there's no other comments on the resolutions, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve resolutions 01-1415, 002, and 003-1415.
Great.
Second.
Thank you. And would you
Trying
like
to
to?
figure where we are in the process.
It's all right. Would you like to call the roll?
Sure, Dr. Dunlop.
Aye.
Mrs. Runyon.
Aye.
Mrs. White. Aye.
Great, and that passed unanimously. And Dr. Dunlop, would you like to report any activities?
Well, I came here to the school district offices Monday morning, bright and early, and met and had a chance to meet with the new teachers. And very good group. I was impressed by them, and I think they're going to serve us well. So I was really impressed with that. And other than that, I've been working all summer.
Mrs. White?
I too was at the new teacher orientation, and I tried to tell a little bit about what the board does. I visited a teacher at one point, and he asked if I was from the district, and I said, well, not really. I'm not part of the district staff. And I said, I'm on the school board. And he said, well, what's the school board? So if your employees don't know who sets the rules and the budget and the contracts and all, I thought it was important for the brand new teachers to get a feeling for what we actually do. And I also told them that together with Mr. Rogie, we had 48 years of experience on the board and nearly 150 years of living in Livermore, which was a tidbit of information.
That's making me feel a little older than I want to feel tonight. Okay.
But you've been here shorter than anybody else. So.
That's true. My family moved here in '98. So anyway, it's really been great. This is the first year in a long time that the board didn't have a board meeting in July. So we got a nice break, and I was able to catch up on a lot of my outside reading, and I really appreciate it. And that has left me enthusiastic for the year to come. I hope that all of our employees are feeling the same way. And as I've had a chance to visit with people in the last couple of days, people have shown that enthusiasm, and I'm looking forward to kickoff on Thursday morning, and really want to see all the enthusiasm as we approach the start of school. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent.
Oh, thank you. As you've heard from many folks tonight, we have been busy gearing up for the new school year. This is a very exciting time for us, and it doesn't matter how long most of us are in education. I will tell you, the night before the first day of school, is one of those nights where I can't ever sleep. Or it's just this nervous excitement. Whether you're a new student to the start of your new year or any employee, it's really exciting. And I hear that the folks who retire from education, it takes them a couple years to get past that. So we are very excited, and we are starting school next Monday. We will have over 1,200 employees preparing for and eager to welcome over 12,500 students, and I see those numbers climbing to our 17 campuses. I did want to thank the hard work of our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, Amy Robbins, and her staff. We had a very successful 21st Century Leadership Institute for our board, cabinet, all site administrators, and over 180 teacher leaders. This is a 2-day institute. They come in August, bright and early. We focus on implementing the Common Core with an emphasis on the 4 C's: collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking. And of course, we add in Livermore character. We also focus on fostering a growth mindset, making sure that we're constantly challenging ourselves to improve and to grow instead of remaining status quo or stagnant. And the happiness advantage. So research shows that people who are happy actually are more productive. And so it was very exciting to hear from the Harvard research that success is something that people experience when they're actually very positive. And only about 10% of people's success and happiness is actually predetermined by either skills or talents or ingrained things they already have. Most of that comes to them because of their approach, mindset, attitude, and how they view the world. So that was a very exciting moment for us, and it made us all very happy, and we are determined to keep positive throughout the year. And then also we had workshops on the IDEO design thinking process, and this fits perfectly with the 21st century thinking and mindset and skills that we'll be bringing to our students. And I had the pleasure of participating actively in some of the groups. I think Mrs. White was my partner in a few, but also in watching and observing. And just, I can't tell you how exciting it was to see all of I was watching some of the site teams and the Granada team, I know, with Matt Hart leading the way, and just the ideas that started a little slowly, and then by the end, just bombarded with ideas and excitement about what is possible. So I see that, and I'm looking forward to that enthusiastic approach being very contagious for our students, because with the Common Core, it's much more open-minded thinking. There isn't one answer, there's many answers, there's many ways of seeing things, and a lot of new approaches, and so that will lead to the innovation and wonderful experiences for our students. Also, I'd like to thank our Assistant Superintendent, Cindy Alba, because she helped sponsor a very successful 21st Century Leadership Team workshop. This was a 1-day workshop. Our new administrators, who you met earlier, they as part of our normal routine and kind of tradition, they host all the team bonding activities. So we had some really fun activities. And then we also focus on fostering a creative and innovative workplace environment to make sure that we inform, include, inspire, and innovate in all we do. And as Trustee Runyon mentioned, our planning committee is busily putting together the final touches for our upcoming back-to-school kickoff. So just as Mr. Vernoy had an advertisement, this is our Back to the Future theme. It will be this Thursday. It's one of the first times that it is the first time in 5 years that we've been able to have it before school actually starts, which makes sense. So we'll be kicking off the new year. The themes Back to the Future will be looking back and pulling on our traditions and then pushing and propelling into the future. All 1,200 employees will get together to reconnect, restart, reload, recommit, and rev up, and we will propel into the new academic year and launch our students into the 21st century learning environment. So that is a time we want to make sure people know every employee will be attending. So we will be closing our district and site offices from 8 until 10 that morning. We're normally open, but we don't want anyone to be left behind, even our substitutes. Everybody's welcome. So thank you for that. And when we come back, we'll have actual numbers of, what did you say, bright, shiny faces? We'll let you know how many students are in our district. Thank you.
And with that, we're adjourned at 8:30. Thank you very much.